You are listening to the Objects of Affection collection. Study 24. Art Basel's Spectacle, a critique of the Louis Vuitton x Takashi Murakami Hyperreality and a case for post-luxury. As Louis Vuitton and Takashi Murakami reunite at Art Basel Paris 2025 to transform the iconic Capucine's bag into a vibrant canvas of contemporary art, the spectacle marks the apotheosis of a decades-long strategy within the luxury sector. This high-profile event, coming 2 decades after their groundbreaking first collaboration, occurs just as the global personal luxury goods market confronts a period of profound recalibration. After a remarkable post-pandemic boom that saw sales for top brands surge by over 80% between 2019 and 2024, the sector is now facing its first significant slowdown since the 2008-2009 financial crisis. This turbulence is not a momentary dip, but has been identified as the sector's new baseline. It is a systemic disruption fueled by a confluence of economic headwinds, geopolitical instability, and a palpable weakening of consumer sentiment across the globe's core markets. This report posits that this market correction is not merely an economic event, but a symptom of a deeper philosophical crisis. A crisis of meaning born from the industry's own success in creating a hyperreal consumer landscape. At the heart of this disruption is a phenomenon that can be termed a quiet rebellion, driven by widespread price fatigue. For years, luxury brands relied on consistent price increases to bolster their aura of exclusivity and drive growth. That strategy has now reached its ceiling, with escalating prices actively deterring demand, particularly from the aspirational consumers who once fueled the market's expansion. This has precipitated a growing disillusionment with luxury offerings, most acutely felt among younger generations, millennials and Gen Z, who are fundamentally reassessing their relationship with luxury and questioning its long-standing price-to-value equilibrium. Consumers, in a word, are fed up with big luxury fashion brands. This sentiment is giving rise to 2 interconnected cultural movements, post-luxury and quiet luxury. The post-luxury concept describes the decline of the income upgrade phenomenon, a paradigm shift wherein consumers no longer feel compelled to consistently upgrade to luxury goods as their income and wealth increase. Instead, they are making more deliberate, selective, and value-driven choices. This behavior finds its aesthetic expression in the trend of quiet luxury, a conscious turn away from conspicuous logomania toward an appreciation for timeless design, superior craftsmanship, and sustainable intentional consumption, a reaction against the conditions diagnosed in The Luster Restored. It reflects a broader cultural shift, a longing for the imperfect, for the antithesis of the clean, smooth, and homogeneous that has defined mass-market luxury. To understand this crisis, one must look beyond market analytics to the cultural theory of Jean Baudrillard. This report will argue that the luxury industry, in its relentless pursuit of global growth, has perfected the creation of what Baudrillard termed a hyperreal consumer landscape. In this state, the sign has completely replaced the real. The image of luxury has become more important than any tangible quality. Through decades of advertising, social media saturation, and the strategic deployment of logos, the sector has engineered an effacement of reality. Objects are no longer valued for their utility, use value, or even their symbolic meaning in a personal relationship, symbolic value, but almost exclusively for their sign value, their coded meaning within a self-referential system of prestige and status. The current market fatigue is the logical endpoint of this process. The system of signs, accelerated by digital media to an unprecedented degree, has become so saturated that it has begun to collapse under its own weight. When luxury branding becomes ubiquitous and democratized, its core promise of exclusivity is weakened. The sign becomes detached from any perceived substance, and consumers experience this void as price fatigue and disillusionment. The quiet rebellion, therefore, is more than a trend. It is a subconscious attempt to rediscover ontological authenticity in a world where the real has been supplanted by its simulation. This study will deconstruct this hyperreal system and propose an alternative framework for understanding value. Through a tripartite analysis of 3 distinct objects, it will build a case for a new paradigm: post-luxury conceptual functional art, post-luxury conceptual functional art. The foil, the Louis Vuitton x Takashi Murakami handbag as the quintessential hyperreal object. The archetype, a handmade scarf as the pure expression of authentic narrative-driven value. The case study, a Robert Ebendorf necklace as the art world validation of the post-luxury conceptual functional art thesis. By dissecting the problem and proving the existence of a viable alternative, This report will define a new way of navigating a world saturated with signs and starved of meaning. The Foil. Deconstructing the System of Signs in Louis Vuitton x Takashi Murakami, the collaboration between French luxury maison Louis Vuitton and Japanese contemporary artist Takashi Murakami, first launched in 2003, stands as a seminal moment in modern fashion history. It was not merely a successful product launch, it was the perfection of a corporate strategy that transformed a luxury good into a cultural artifact of immense power. However, viewed through a critical lens, the Louis Vuitton x Takashi Murakami handbag is the apotheosis of the hyperreal object, a masterfully constructed sign whose value is entirely divorced from utility or intrinsic worth, existing solely within the coded system of signs described by Baudrillard. It is the ultimate foil against which a new theory of value can be defined. The artification of the monogram, a strategy of decommoditization and hyperreality. The genesis of the collaboration was a strategic response to a fundamental threat facing the luxury industry at the turn of the millennium: commoditization. As brands like Louis Vuitton expanded into global markets with more accessible ready-to-wear collections, they risked diluting the very rarity and exclusivity upon which their value was built. Under the direction of Marc Jacobs, the house pioneered a decommoditization strategy known as artification, the process of treating a non-art object as art to imbue it with a renewed sense of prestige and virtual rarity. The choice of Takashi Murakami was a masterstroke. His superflat theory, which deliberately collapses the distinction between high art and low commercial culture, provided the perfect philosophical vehicle for this corporate alchemy. Murakami was commissioned not to create a work of art, but to apply his aesthetic to a commercial product, lending the aura of his artistic brand to the Louis Vuitton brand. He brilliantly reimagined the house's staid monogram, creating a vibrant 33-color palette on a stark white or black background that gave the classic bags a tasteful yet hip look. The result was a quintessential hyperreal object, a mass-produced commodity that simulates the uniqueness and cultural capital of a work of art. Louis Vuitton's marketing campaign amplified this effect, generating immense hype that resulted in extensive waiting lists and cementing the bag's status as the definitive must-have accessory of the era. The strategy was not to sell a bag, but to sell a signifier of cultural relevance. The collaboration was a historical marker of the moment, when the logic of the spectacle fully infiltrated the logic of luxury. Louis Vuitton's corporate need for a powerful new signifier was perfectly fulfilled by a rising media culture that was beginning to value the sign, the image of the celebrity with the bag, more than the object itself. This strategy of artification is not a historical artifact, but a living, evolving methodology, as evidenced by the announcement of the Art Capucine's Roman 7 collection, a new collaboration with Murakami set to debut at Art Basel Paris 2025. Here, the iconic Capucine's bag is transformed into a vibrant canvas, with Murakami creating a series of fantastical, limited edition pieces designed to transcend accessory status to become art objects in their own right. The choice of venue, an elite international art fair, is a deliberate act of contextual reframing, designed to situate these commercial products within the discourse of high art. The collection, featuring surreal designs like the strass-studded panda clutch and the Capucine's mini mushroom, crafted with 3D-printed fungi, represents the hyperreal logic taken to its extreme. The bag is no longer a bag but a sculpture, its function entirely subsumed by its new art-coded sign value. Logomania as code, consumption, status, and the erasure of the real. The Murakami bag became an indelible icon of the Y2K era, its cultural significance inseparable from the burgeoning celebrity and paparazzi culture of the time. Its constant presence on figures like Paris Hilton, Jessica Simpson, and Madonna, and its inclusion in cultural touchstones like the film Mean Girls, was not an incidental byproduct of its popularity, but was central to its function as a sign. In Baudrillard's framework, the bag operated entirely within a system of signs, where its value was derived not from any inherent quality, but from its position within a differential system of prestige. The vibrant, instantly recognizable design was perfectly calibrated for its primary function, to be seen and photographed. It did not signify craftsmanship or durability in itself. It signified access, wealth, and inclusion within a media-driven spectacle. It was a tangible representation of the aspirational mantra, "Everybody wants to be us." An analysis of the bag through Baudrillard's 4 distinct logics of value reveals its purely hyperreal nature: functional value, use value, entirely nominal; The bag holds objects, but this utility is completely irrelevant to its cultural meaning and exorbitant price. Exchange value, extremely high, yet fundamentally disconnected from its use value or the cost of its materials and labor. Its price is a function of its sign value. Symbolic value, negligible. As a mass-produced consumer good, it is not a unique object exchanged between two subjects and imbued with the emotional weight of their relationship. Sign value, total and absolute. The bag's entire worth is derived from its status as a signifier of wealth, trend awareness, and perceived exclusivity within the coded language of early 21st century fashion. The sign value has effectively cannibalized and erased all other forms of value. The legacy of the spectacle, nostalgia and the reedition, as simulacrum the announcement of a reedition of the collection for 2025, complete with a global campaign featuring the contemporary icon Zendaya, is the final confirmation of the object's hyperreal status. This revival is not a simple re-release of a beloved product. It is a second-order simulacrum, a copy that no longer has any reference to an underlying reality, but only to other signs. The original 2003 bag was already a simulation, a signifier that stood in for the concepts of art and social status. The 2025 reedition is a copy of that sign. Its value is derived not from the object itself, but from a manufactured nostalgia for a past cultural moment, the Y2K era, that was itself a spectacle constructed and disseminated by mass media. The new campaign does not sell a product, it sells a simulation of a past simulation. It is a perfect illustration of Baudrillard's procession of simulacra, a state where the map precedes the territory, and eventually, generates it. The Louis Vuitton x Murakami collaboration did not just reflect the culture, it actively produced it, creating a world where the sign of luxury became more real than the thing itself, a process that has led directly to the crisis of meaning and value the industry faces today. The archetype, locating authenticity in the garden of art scarf. To escape the self-referential hall of mirrors that is the hyperreal, one must turn to objects that exist entirely outside its logic. The archetype of such an object is the garden of art scarf, an item whose profound value is intrinsic, narrative, and deeply personal. It serves as the philosophical and emotional core of the post-luxury thesis, demonstrating a system of worth grounded not in coded signs, but in human connection, labor, and memory. By dissecting the sources of its value, we can establish the foundational principles of the object of affection. The aura of creation, labor, love, and the psychology of the gift in stark contrast to the industrially produced, globally marketed Louis Vuitton bag, the value of the garden of art scarf begins with the irreducible fact of its creation. It is a physical manifestation of unquantifiable resources, time, focused effort, and the personal touch of its maker. This labor of love is immediately perceptible to the recipient, signaling a level of care and personalized attention that mass-produced goods cannot replicate. The very act of creating something by hand for another person is an act of service, a tangible expression of affection that transcends mere transaction. This places the scarf within the framework of a gift economy, a system of exchange that prioritizes the strengthening of social bonds and reciprocity over monetary profit, as theorized in Value Beyond Price. The value of the scarf is not its market price, which is non-existent, but the social and emotional capital it generates. A reinforced sense of connection, gratitude, and mutual respect. This aligns perfectly with Baudrillard's own theoretical alternative to the commodity system of sign value, the concept of symbolic exchange. The scarf is a true symbol, exchanged between two specific subjects and imbued with the unique, ambivalent, and emotionally resonant meaning of their relationship. It is not a sign to be decoded by an impersonal, external system of status. Furthermore, the act of making is psychologically formative for the creator, drawing on the philosophies of 19th century thinkers like John Ruskin and William Morris, who argued that engaging in handicrafts was a process through which workers created themselves. The scarf can be understood to contain the aura of its maker. Their skill, commitment, judgment, and intention are physically embedded in the object, making it a unique and irreplaceable artifact of human creativity. Haptic memory and the narrative object. A crucial yet often overlooked dimension of the scarf's value lies in its tactile reality. To fully grasp this, one must introduce the concept of haptic memory, the form of sensory memory specific to the stimuli of touch. While the Louis Vuitton bag functions primarily as a visual sign, meant to be seen from a distance, the scarf is fundamentally a haptic object, designed to be felt against the skin. The concept of haptic memory, the sensory memory of touch. Unlike a visual sign, An object of affection is grounded in its tactile reality. Its value is encoded and accessed through its specific physical properties, anchoring the user's experience in authenticity and offering a powerful defense against the disembodied hyperreal. Its value is encoded and accessed through its specific physical properties, the particular texture of the yarn, its weight and density, its capacity for warmth, and its subtle handmade imperfections. These are not flaws in a manufacturing process, they are data points that constitute the object's unique story and identity. This deep, tactile connection between the wearer and the object's layered history is what the post-luxury conceptual functional art framework identifies as the haptic memory of an object. The physical sensation of wearing the scarf acts as a powerful trigger for emotional and narrative recall. It evokes the memory of the person who made it, the moment it was given, and the feeling of their care. This sensory grounding in physical reality makes the scarf the ultimate anti-hyperreal object. Its meaning is not a free-floating sign circulating in a media landscape, but is physically embedded in its material substance, accessible through the direct, unmediated experience of touch. The emotional connection to an object of affection is not merely a sentimental abstraction. It is a neurological process anchored by haptic memory. The hyperreal operates primarily in the disembodied realms of the visual and the conceptual images and codes that simulate reality. Haptic memory, by definition, is embodied. It is the brain's record of direct, physical interaction with the world. The unique haptic data of a handmade object provides a neurological anchor to authenticity, grounding our experience in tangible reality and offering a powerful defense against the disorienting abstractions of the hyperreal. Symbolic exchange vs. sign value. The unknowable worth. A direct comparison of the Garden of Art scarf and the Louis Vuitton bag using Baudrillard's four-part value system crystallizes their diametrically opposed natures. Functional value, use value, essential. The scarf provides warmth. Its function is integral to its identity and its narrative of care. Exchange value, zero. It exists entirely outside the logic of the market and cannot be meaningfully commodified. Symbolic value, total. Its entire worth is derived from its status as a unique symbol of a specific relationship and a specific act of creation. Its meaning is relational and deeply personal. The remainder of this study continues at objectsofaffectioncollection.com. This has been a study from the Objects of Affection Collection, a critical art research institution operating under the framework of post-luxury conceptual functional art. Read the full research at objectsofaffectioncollection.com.